Don't hurt me no more.
Hi, bud. Hi. Oh, are you gonna podcast with me today?
Alvin, come. Come. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. Up. Off. Sit. Stay.
Come. Sit. Oh, you're such a smart boy.
Wanna go outside? Wanna go outside? Wanna go outside? You're gonna be right over here.
Okay. Hi, cutie.
So it's a deep couch. Some people want another pillow for back support. You want me to get you something?
Yeah, maybe another pillow.
Yeah.
Just sit up.
People use between 1 and 3. I'll let you figure it out as I get myself a water. You want something to drink?
Water is fine.
Cold or room temp?
Room temp is fine.
Look at the camera for me for 1 sec. Not yet. Okay. Going.
Going.
Scoot doo, blabbity blue, scoop dee. Oh yeah.
Let's get into it.
Good. Okay.
Oh my gosh, you're my best
I don't know what I'm getting into.
Well, they didn't tell you that this is a gotcha podcast where they ask the hard-hitting questions that people are too scared to ask.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm sure you hear this from people who are my age who you've never met before.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you were like, been a fan of yours for a long time, and
thank
you're
you.
probably the first. I don't know if that's true. I guess Will Smith is, but like one of my earlier that I can remember. Like I would try and do what you would do, and like
Right.
your sketches, and obviously, I mean, I still talk about the Plant Lamp Store with my buddy John DeWalt all the time
Right,
from Night at the
right.
Roxbury.
Right.
But this is cool that you're doing this, man.
Oh,
and,
you're welcome.
And I didn't know what the people that get my ads reached out. I didn't talk to your PR people, so I didn't even know what you were promoting until you got here, and I found out that you have a podcast that just came out.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that for a sec.
Well, I have a podcast called Idiotically Speaking, and it's been out for about a month and a half, and we've had great guests from Fred Armisen to Cecily Strong and Dana Carvey, and it's been great. It's really
You on YouTube?
yeah. No, it's not YouTube. It's on Podcast One. It's the name of the company, but we're not on YouTube. You mean like?
Yeah, big. That's a big miss, dude.
Well, we're not. We're not. I
Are
mean,
you loud?
I think you know what. I think we are on YouTube. We must
Bring
be
this
on
more.
YouTube.
I'm going to look now. Bring this more to you.
I don't know why I'm.
I'm
I
looking it up
think
now.
we are. You mean like are we telecast on YouTube? Are we
Yeah.
like? Can you watch it on YouTube?
Chris Kattan
I'm
podcast.
pretty sure.
No, I don't see it on here. I say that only because a significant. I mean, a lot of people that watch this podcast, they also do audio, and they could do one or the other. But because we do so much video editing and stuff, a significant number of people that watch/listen to this podcast are YouTube, and
Yeah.
I've learned that there are YouTube people that aren't necessarily podcast people.
Right.
They'll watch it because it's on YouTube.
Right.
And with these guests that you're having on, and how expressive everyone you just said is, I don't know
Yeah.
podcast one if they're open to it, but also I'm not here to tell you what
Yeah.
you need
No,
to do.
that's good to know.
But YouTube is, and also video for clips and stuff. I mean, these are people that like.
yeah.
My instinct goes, oh, I want to go watch that. And now that I know if it's not video, I'm still interested, but it's not the same.
Right.
So
right.
I would let your people know, video that shit up.
Yeah, I'll
dude.
definitely do that.
Sorry for swearing.
No.
Can I swear
you're-
on this?
Yeah, I could. It's your podcast.
All right. What made you want to start a podcast now?
Well, I was asked and a few times throughout the years, and it was approached to me, and I finally had an idea about making it somewhat unique, and that was to do some improv in it. Do like an improv sketch, but audio, almost like
Right.
watching a sketch, but it's obviously you can only hear it, and so to get the guest to do a sketch with you is pretty. It's pretty cool to do that, as opposed to just doing an interview.
I guess if part of the game of the sketch is that you're saying stuff that you're not really doing the visuals of,
Right.
And it's you just have to cut to black. Have you seen the movie Superstar? Popstar.
Popstar.
Yeah, Andy Samberg movie.
Samberg, I did not see it.
Well, All the Lonely Island, I guess. There's just a scene in
I
it.
should have seen it.
There's a scene in it where they're doing a documentary, and then the cameras go out. Oh no! But now there's this huge action sequence that Tim Meadows is basically like yelling like what's happening, but like you can't see it. Just makes me think of that.
Right.
So, what do you think of that story?
Funny.
So I normally, these are more, I do a lot of improv, I do a lot of conversational stuff, and then occasionally I have someone on that I've never met before, but it's an interesting dynamic because like I've never met you, but I know of your stuff for years.
Right.
So I'm not much of an interview podcast.
Right.
And I also, some people don't like being interviewed, but I want to ask you questions and stuff like that.
Sure.
Or we could lean into just the absolute silly, turn the cameras off, there's bumblebees, penises and stuff.
Bumblebees.
That's Popstar.
And penises.
What is happening, Harry? Fucking be out of here, man.
Where are they coming from?
I think they like my sunscreen.
Why are you wearing sunscreen? It's overcast.
It can still burn you through the clouds. Everybody knows that.
Shit, grab my flamethrower!
Here, that. Yes! Yes! You get this!
Oh my god, Queen!
It's you! You got him!
Holy shit. Camera guy, tell me you got that.
You told us to stop filming.
Oh, fuck!
That stuff, you know what I
There
mean?
you go. Yeah. You're directing as we're going along.
Yeah. I'm blacklisted from the Groundlings. There's 5 people blacklisted from the Groundlings that I know of.
Oh.
Could you get me back in?
I don't know how.
I was joking about getting me back in.
Oh, okay.
I've told this story on here before. I don't want to. I mean, I could later, but I want to talk to you about it. But Groundlings, from when you came from, was kind of like that. Feels like when people look at like the Dream Team and the Jordan era.
Right.
Will you talk to me about what that was like and what that's
The Dream Team?
Yeah. No, not the Dream. Like Groundlings. You're from Groundlings.
Yes.
Then to SNL. Is that a skill set that you're going to be like bringing into your pod, like that sketch stuff? I mean, that was so character.
You mean, wait, what's your question exactly?
I want to know like Groundlings are my arch nemesis.
Right.
They were some
sorry.
place that they're not really, but they were a place like when I first moved here because of you and your group of people.
Right.
I'm like, when I first moved here, I want to go to the Groundlings.
Right.
Long story. I ended up giving a fake name for something. It's nothing harmful, but they're like,
Right.
oh, well, you couldn't have done this because you were annoying in the audition and blah, 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 blah. But Groundlings was like, I still look at it as like, what was that like then?
Right. Right.
Do you have any stories that you could talk to me about?
Well, I remember doing, the character Mr. Peepers, the monkey character thing
Apple.
I did. And I remember doing it for the first time and how the reaction was so strong. And I never got a reaction like that in front of a live audience. And it was also because the character can break the fourth wall. The character was very physical, for those who don't know, was, was a half man, half monkey, and he ate an apple and he, spit it out and he dry humped objects and people. But when I did it at the Groundlings, I would jump into the audience and I would do it with the audience members. So it was really, that was a great memory of something that happened at the Groundlings.
How many characters did you have before SNL that you brought to it?
How many characters?
Yeah, is
did
that
I
like
have?
a thing? Like when nowadays,
that was, I don't know, because there was quite a few. I mean, they weren't established though. They weren't like, this is that guy, and there were a few sketches that didn't make it to Saturday Night Live, obviously.
what year was that? 96, 95?
89.
No, that you got to SNL.
Oh, 89. I'm sorry, 96.
So you were doing it for 7+ years?
Oh, yeah, about almost 8 years. 8 years.
What other cast members did you do Groundlings with?
Well, the Groundlings was my group was like Will Ferrell and Sherry O'Terry and Jennifer Coolidge and yeah, those are the main. And Sherry O'Terry. I said
Yeah.
yeah, and those are the ones that moved on to Saturday Night Live.
Are these people that you're getting on your pod?
I haven't gotten those. I haven't asked them to be on the show yet.
It seems like such a fraternity of like, it feels different now. Like I have friends that are on SNL and or were on SNL, and they were on it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then they leave and they're like, they don't even think about it anymore. Like it's not part of their. It was like something that they got to do as if something that they feel like they were part of.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, I guess that must have always been the case. I just didn't really know those people very well.
Yeah.
Were there people that you worked with that were like, because some of these people I know that were on it 1, 2, 3 years are some of the funniest people ever.
Right.
It just didn't work on SNL for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Are there people that like you thought were super funny that you worked with that didn't get to shine?
There are plenty of them. Yeah.
What I used to fantasize about being on SNL, and then I got on a TV show, and right away I realized, oh, I think I'm better at this.
Right.
Like, as silly as I am, as much as I started with sketch and improv and did all that stuff, I don't know if I would shine on SNL. And I've tried and I've asked people who are on it, like, what is it that makes somebody good on that? And what I've come up with, and tell me what else, but it's mostly being able to write good sketches.
Right.
Do you feel that was the case? Did you write the stuff that you shined in?
Yeah, Groundlings taught you how to do that. That was one of the amazing things they did. But that's really the backbone to doing sketch comedy, I think, is learning how to write. Being
For
a writer.
your skill set.
I think so, yeah. I think it's so important to know how to write.
Could I put you on the spot and pretend that you're my teacher for a second?
Sure.
I write stuff a lot.
Okay.
They're not big characters.
Right.
And those are I think it's because I grew up in the 90s, but like, I feel that's missing now. The big character is what's so fun. How do you have to come up with a energy? Like, because you could write a sketch for something, but it doesn't mean you could play that character.
Right.
Like you have to like, no, I'm good at looking like a monkey. I'm good at yelling. I'm good at dancing a certain way. Is it like, do you start with an energy that you like to play with and then write backwards from that? Or are you writing a game and then try and find a character that fits it? Does that question make sense?
It's a bit of both, I think. You know, the first one, I used to do it that way. Just find out skills that I'm already good at and hone it around that. I think that's what I used to do, you know, like the monkey character, for example. You know, that was pure physicality. And that's...
Do you remember were you doing something someday and you jumped up on something and you're like, oh, this is...
Yeah, it was a bad improv, and that was the direction we got. So I leaped up and jumped upside down and was hanging by my feet on the other player in the Groundlings. And
bad improv is an exercise, right? You do it on purpose, or was it real bad improv?
it was a real bad improv. The exercise was, let's do a bad improv.
Yeah, right.
So that's what I did. I did that as an exercise during a bad improv. That's how I came up with that character.
You were always very physical, unless you don't want to talk about this, but you had an injury from it, right?
Yeah, I did.
Are you comfortable talking about that at all?
Well, it's not a lot of fun to talk about.
We don't have to get into the science and the trauma of it, but I guess more specifically, like, I used to be physical, and as I got older, I'm not so much anymore.
Sure.
And like, I find that being physical, doing bad improv, hey, do something bad, then you end up, the instinct to me is like, oh, I guess I'm allowed to make the biggest choices.
Right.
And that's the physical stuff. And I've noticed that as I've gotten older and less physical, I don't feel as silly.
Right.
Do you connect to that?
I mean, just as you get older, you get wiser, and things aren't as broad and as in your face, I think, as you get older. You know, your humor does change. It calms down a bit, I think. You know, I calmed down. I had a lot of energy when I was young.
I know.
And, you know, it just went all over the place. So I needed places to put it. So I created characters based on a lot of that energy. And but it's calmed down. So I have different. I would, if I were to come up with characters now, they'd be different for sure.
I think of it similar to how, like, basketball players, they lose their first step, so they got to get better at shooting. I don't like that. I don't like the idea of thinking of losing the energy, but it is that, and also some of it is like I don't feel it anymore. I don't feel that kind of same ridiculous big energy, but I still am so attracted to it.
Right.
When you're doing your improv stuff, is it, when you say that you've changed it now, would you say it's more grounded?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would say so for sure, and more realistic, and just overall better. And I'm listening more and doing all the things, all the skills that you should do in an improv to make it a successful improv. I'm doing a lot more now. I mean, I think I would do it a lot more now than I would have before.
Yeah. Do you ever do stand up?
Yeah, I do a lot of stand up.
I knew that actually. We have a mutual friend. I remember you almost did their podcast a while ago, and then something didn't happen, and then they canceled their podcast. Jason Collings.
Oh, okay.
Do you know Jason, right?
Yeah.
Because he told me that you were gonna maybe do that, was years ago. But yeah, I remember that's when I found out that you do stand. I never see you. Or do you do it around LA a lot?
I do sometimes, but right now I'm spending time out in Chicago right now because my fiance lives there.
I just did the Den there.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. I don't know if you've been to that venue.
No, I have not been to.
Gorgeous.
Is it?
Yeah. I would love to see your stand up.
Yeah.
You're not going to do. Obviously, you're leaving today.
I'm leaving today. Well, I'm flying today.
Yeah.
I'll be back. I fly back and forth.
You're not character based up there?
Character based?
Yeah. What's your?
You mean
for your stand up? It's like you said.
Is it character based? No, it's me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's me doing. I mean, I do characters in the stand up, but yeah, it's based on me as opposed to a character.
How do you feel the difference between that and doing sketch?
Well, I found a persona of myself, so that helps. There's a persona that I do of myself that is really the character that I'm doing. So that's, in a way, it is kind of like character work. You find that voice that you don't usually use, to have that as your carrying voice when you're doing stand-up.
Could I ask you? I want to ask you like a couple of very specific, nerdy, maybe annoying questions.
Sure.
You said that you found this voice persona of yours.
Yes.
Did you is it something that you've had that you by find you mean like I think I'll use this on stage, or is it something you actually found? And what could you explain what that is?
I think it's a comfortable way of communicating with somebody, and that you feel very comfortable to fall back on, having it being, a strength of it's how can I explain it? It's a voice that's very comforting for you to use when you're on stage, just like a character is.
I think I want to explain the intention of my curiosity to maybe kind of shine.
I don't know if I answered that
magnifying
correctly.
glass on this a bit. This voice that you're talking about sounds like the thing that a lot of people do, myself included. Those that are aware might be more conscious of it, but just in day-to-day life.
Right.
For example, masking and being around people and like putting on a certain persona, meeting a girlfriend's family, and being this certain way that, because you even said that like feels more, I don't remember if you said safe, but that's what I heard, but like comfortable and like that's easy and like,
yeah.
You have to do that. Well, you don't have to, but a lot of people think they must do that in their real life.
Right.
But as somebody who found a way of doing that so well, I'm talking about your sketch stuff, which is the energy that you said that you don't want to be doing anymore. But like that is a version of it. Like,
Well, not that I don't want to do it anymore. It's just that it was a lot of energy and it took a lot of energy.
It's not as inspired anymore. Like it's hard.
Yeah, it's
That's
just
how I feel.
it's just a different energy now. That's all.
Right, which means that like you have to find a new one. But why do we have to? Not judging it, really. Like this
We
is something
don't have to. If that's your question, it just it ends up happening because you get older and you find out you have more variety to yourself and you have more. There's more to you than you thought.
I guess what I'm like curious about is like, because now you're saying it's like it's still a version of you,
Right.
but there are like, so on stage you have people that are, let's just say there's 3 levels, 100% the same exact as they are on stage and off stage. Then they have somebody that's playing a version of themselves, and then they have like a Larry the Cable Guy character type thing.
Right.
The version of yourself that is the most authentic, not the persona, do you feel that you could be funny as that? And this isn't a judgment towards you. This is like questions I ask myself.
I think I think that's the one that's the voice that people say, "Oh, you're funnier than you think." You know, when you don't try to be funny, you're actually funnier. I think that's that level. You know, the one that you're unconscious of.
Do you talk about things that you're uncomfortable about talking about in real life, but you're comfortable talking about on stage?
Do I talk about? That's very existential.
What's
Do I
that?
talk about things that I'm uncomfortable about on stage that I'm usually comfortable talking about?
Something that you wouldn't feel comfortable talking to me about, but for whatever reason on stage.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
What is that about?
What is that about? It's about curiosity, and it's about explaining and trying to see if the audience would what their opinion is. See, you know, trusting the audience with
More
their
so than you
opinion.
trust somebody. I'm saying like something that you won't talk about off stage.
Right.
Like you almost trust the audience more.
Oh, I see. Something I wouldn't talk
Yeah.
about off stage. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't tell all my secrets, but you know, there is a persona of myself that I would trust with the audience. That I would, you know, I would ask them questions if I had real questions to ask. You know.
Yeah, I think I'm asking you questions that I ask myself because like I've seen a side of you that inspired me to
Right.
kind of start something. And sometimes I use this podcast as an opportunity to like, I think of it sometimes like I've been out here for a while. I've been in the business. I know people. I've asked questions and
Right.
I've done stuff. And I sometimes like I think of this podcast as like I remember when I first moved to LA and other people like they would like, oh, my sister such and such knows such and such, and like you
Right.
go and you get a coffee with them and you ask some questions. I never really did that, and I kind of take advantage of that on here and like.
So you do it more here than you would do in person. You're more comfortable.
It's not about the comfort; it's the opportunity. I don't meet people
I see,
like
the
this
opportunity. Yeah,
and
yeah,
sit
yeah.
down and have a long form conversation with them. So like
Right. That makes sense.
I used to. I mean, I say this like everyone used, but like night at the Roxbury, I used to try and memorize. Like I would
Right.
do the things and the physicality of it, and I was always very physical. My mom always like said, "Oh, it's so funny when you're physical." Like I just felt validated in being physical.
Yeah.
And I would watch you, and like I would watch the things that you would do, and it was like, and what I learned is that the moves you were doing weren't what's funny. It wasn't that you were shaking your head a certain way or crouching on a stool. It was that like I believed the person doing that does that thing. Does that make sense? Like I didn't think that you were actually a monkey.
Right.
But like it just felt you were so present and like you're moving in a way that was like
Committed.
100% committed
Right.
to where it wasn't the moves you were doing. This is corny, but it was the thoughts you were having, or at least the energy that was driving those thoughts.
Right.
You were just being this thing. And that made me feel really comfortable in like not thinking about or planning or choreographing physicality, but just like taking on that energy, right?
Yeah.
And now you're talking about something that I feel sometimes, which is I don't want to have to do that energy. If I want to do it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But there was a while where I'm like, I had all this material written that like the only way to perform it is to give so much that I don't have in me or don't want to give.
Right. Right.
So I'm trying to like, because you did this before me, like, what does that transition feel like? Where like, I'm not doing this thing that felt like a superpower. Does that make sense? Am I connecting with you at all? Is that just a me thing?
Yes, I think so.
Like, you could be committed and present and not be jumping on a stool,
Right.
but it's a completely different energy, and you have to write completely different. So when you're writing,
That is hard because you're present. That character in particular wasn't a character that I was really present. I was more channeling.
okay, maybe I'm using the wrong word, but yeah, you're just there.
Depending on the character, you know.
But when you're could you explain that? Because when you're channeling something, then that thing, you're not thinking. To me, present is you're not thinking about anything unrelated to what you're doing.
Yeah, you feel like it's just like not you. You feel like you're taking on another persona.
So did that feel like a superpower to you? Did that feel like I could do this whenever?
I guess so, a little bit, because you could turn it on, you get laughs. So in
That's what I'm
that
getting at.
sense,
That thing where it's like, okay, it's time to perform.
Right.
I could turn it on.
yeah,
Without that, then it's much more vulnerable.
right.
How do you turn it on now when you don't want to?
Oh, well, when you don't want to, you just do it. I mean, there is no you don't want to. You do it or you don't. Really, I mean,
You never have a set or something and you're
I mean-
like, I just don't feel it?
oh, you mean yeah? I'm confused. You mean how do I not do it?
I guess in simplest terms, you doing a character for a Groundlings, a
So,
sketch
like,
show.
so are you saying like if I was asked to do something, would I be able to do it?
Yeah, when you're asked to do something or when you committed to doing something,
Performing-wise, yeah.
stand-up show or whatever,
Right.
and you just don't feel funny
Yeah,
or you're not in the mood to give.
right.
It used to be you could tap into just channel something.
Right.
Now you don't have it's not the same thing. So what lets you
Well, now,
show up?
Now I would probably improvise something. I would probably start talking to someone in the audience to do crowd work. That's most likely what I would do.
Is that kind of what your pod is?
Well, there is some of that. I mean, yeah, it is all, obviously unscripted, like most pods, but, it's, yeah, I mean, I am myself. I am me in the podcast, but also it just goes with the conversation. If it's a funny conversation, it's a funny conversation. If it's a serious conversation, it's a serious conversation. It's not like I'm trying to make it something other than what it is.
Yeah.
Otherwise it takes the guest out of his or her comfort zone.
That's why I feel podcasting is much less there's much less expectation than a stage performance.
Yeah.
Is it annoying if I ask you questions about Night at the Roxbury?
If that's what you'd like to know about,
I have to imagine that I just like you've been asked these things already. It was such a big part of me growing up.
Oh, was it?
Dude, I mean, such a big part of it.
Yeah.
That song, the Baby Don't Hurt Me song, which isn't from Night at the Roxbury, but like you guys use all the time. When I was younger, I went to where I grew up. There's a lot of Jews. Can I say that?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And I went to a lot of bar mitzvahs, and I was uncomfortable.
Right.
I wasn't really friends with people too much, and then there was slow dancing, and everything made me
It's
nervous.
funny you went to a lot of bar mitzvahs, so you're continuously invited over and over to bar mitzvahs.
There was probably 60, 70 between
God.
7th and 8th grade.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was like a lot of Jews, a lot of blacks, a lot of Asians, and you
Yeah.
can quote me on that. And so everybody, it was very diverse, but also a lot of opportunity to be doing Jewish things. And you had to dance, and there was always DJs, and like they would
Right.
like when the slow song was coming up, they would bring people together, and I would go wait outside because my mom was picking me up, and like I didn't want to be
Yeah.
on the dance floor. Then when they play that song, not only did I want to dance to that song, it made me feel confident.
Right.
And like for the next maybe 5 songs thereafter,
Right.
I'm in a good place.
Right.
And like there was something about doing this thing that again, the head movement thing, that it wasn't about. At first I thought, oh, that's funny. It's funny to do this. I mean, I don't know why. It was just a performance. But that put me in my thing where I felt like, oh, I have something I could do.
Right.
And it felt like, not like a trick that I had, but like, oh, I could
Right.
do this thing. So like it wasn't Night at the Roxbury, the sketches in the movie, it was like it was a very specific thing that helped me.
Right.
And also, I remember like you were the guy in it that was so funny. I'm a fan of Will Ferrell, and lots of stuff he's done was fantastic. But I always remember, and I don't know if this is tacky to say or if it doesn't really matter, but I remember like I didn't know I wanted to do comedy, but I knew I wanted to be funny.
Right.
And I would always just watch you, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And there was a certain energy that you had. That Will Smith, in a very different way. There was a Will Smith energy.
Will Smith.
There were certain people that had a certain energy. And there was an energy that you had that like I would rewind and watch stuff over and over again.
Right.
Like what was it? What was it that gets you into a place of like...
It's like kind of going to work. It's like you just clock in. You just turn it on, you know. It's like, you know, the show must go on theory. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're like, you have 5-degree fever and you just perform anyway.
I guess I would be like, I don't want to be around people and get them sick.
Well, yeah, obviously, but there's the theory of like the show must go on, and that is that's a real feeling that you just do it, you know, regardless.
Do you think it's a mindset that some people have and some people don't have?
I don't know about that. I think most people probably have that. I would think so. I mean, I do.
I know.
I think anyone. I would think any performer does have that. I would think to an extent, at least.
Yeah, I would challenge that.
Yeah.
I think that that's a certain thing of yours and other people as well.
Right.
People have that mentality.
Right.
But I think that is part of what it is. It's like, hey, you got to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have that. And I'm not mad that I don't have it.
Right.
But like, I have this thing where it's like...
Well, maybe you feel like you don't need to.
Well, that's going back into the original question of like this masking thing and this showing up in a character of ourselves and a voice that we find.
Right.
And how much of these things are survival tools that we figured out a way to be funny with.
Right.
And how, as I've gotten older, I've learned to kind of keep check like a video game of like your life meter, your energy meter.
Right.
And it like goes like this. And I've learned how to preserve the energy from going down.
Right.
But it took me longer to learn how to have the energy go back up.
Right.
And as a performer, I'm trying to find ways where my energy actually goes up while I'm performing.
Right.
And the way I found to do that is being extremely honest and vulnerable.
Yeah. So, yeah, how does that relate? How do I relate to that?
Yeah, like...
Keeping up that energy?
Yeah.
Well, I think... well, if I was doing a sketch and I got tired halfway through it, I would just, again, channel it. I would just have to keep doing it. I would just have to... There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You just have to do it. If you already did it before and, you know, and you're doing it again, especially, you know, then it's easy to... it shouldn't be too difficult, you know. It's not... I don't know. It's. I never really thought about this question.
Well, we don't have... I stuff that's on my mind I bring into the podcast.
But yeah, no, it really is interesting. You know, I think if I was really sick and I couldn't perform, I still would do it. I would probably I probably would sound like a really sick person performing, yeah. But I would do it still. My mind would be involved, so my body would be involved, so I would still do it.
Are there people that you feel comfortable talking, like naming that, who would like... What friends / peers / coworkers do you know that like if you're feeling not full energy, having them as a partner is going to bring the most efficient use of your energy out of you?
Almost everyone on the show is that way.
Yeah?
Yeah, you can rely on anyone, pretty much. I think just being someone on that show, that's almost a requirement in a way.
Yeah, it's a certain type of... There are very funny people that don't offer that, and then there's funny people that do it. I have noticed there's a certain thing. I have certain friends in no particular order. I don't know if you know any of them. Andrew Santino, Adam Ray, Amir K. I mean, there's more, but like, there's certain people that like, when you're opposite them, I just get like, I want to play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I know those. There's a lot of those people. like a Fred Armisen or Jimmy Fallon's that way.
Is Fred Armisen that way? Because
And
he's so
Will's
low
that
energy,
way.
but he's one of the kings. I mean,
Yeah, he is. He's very playful.
I know, but I mean, it brings it out of you too because he plays
Yeah,
low.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Is that episode with you and him out already?
Yeah, but it's actually very serious. It's not
A serious one?
Yeah, he just was in he was more of a serious mood. So it wasn't like a hilarious episode, but it's a great episode.
Are you friends with Harlan Williams?
I am. I haven't seen him in a few years, but he's a great guy. He's hilarious. That was the episode I listened to when they gave me an example of what to hear.
Oh, we did a few. I'm curious which one, but because one of them got a little bit more serious.
I think there was one that was kind of dark.
Yeah, maybe it was that
He
one.
got in a dark direction.
He just came out for the fourth time. It came out this past week. He's another one who I didn't name. There's something about him, man.
Yeah.
And he's got a podcast, Harlan Highway. I would just, when you're doing your rounds and stuff, I don't know if you still talk. I would suggest it if not. But like,
Yeah.
I forgot why I brought it up. There was a reason I brought it up. Oh, because he had Fred on. Fred is the person that like the most I've seen do stuff. Either people sent me or I saw that I did something similar. And I'm like, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
He's so specific.
Right.
Do you act still? Like non-comedy?
Yeah. I just did a film called Angel City last year, and that should be out this year.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
A serious role.
It's a serious role. Yeah.
You like that more? Less?
About the same. I mean, I love performing in general. It doesn't matter if it's dramatic or comedic. I like either way.
Do you have a take on how a lot of comedians, as they've gotten older, and many of which were your classmates, wanted to just get into like wanting to do more serious stuff? Do you have an opinion on that?
Of people that want to do more serious stuff and not. Well, yeah, no, I don't have. Not specifically. No, I think. I think it's good to know if you have that in you, and you might as well try it. Some comedians are incredible actors. A lot of Rob Williams was one of the first to prove that. And I think there's a lot of like great people that shouldn't hold back. And find out if they could be serious actors or not.
Thank you.
Most of them. You got two of them.
Yeah, one of them was kind of the Hollywood Critics Association gave me one for a show I was on, but then I hosted their award show, and then they made me a fake one that just says best podcast host of all time. But I thought two was better than one.
That's great. I love it. You have a lot of good luck. That's a good luck. That's for good luck, right?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I saw it in a
It's
mall
for,
years
they're
ago.
good. They're good luck. I think they're called penny cats or something like that. Do you put a penny on it or something?
I don't know.
You do something. Maybe that's
Well, there
all
are
you
two
do.
coin-looking things here.
There you go. There are the coins.
How do you know so much about Japanese?
I just know that I see them, in various Japanese shops, but I've seen them before. I do know that they're for luck. They're like a good luck charm.
Perfect.
That's a big one, though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had actually people write in, and one of them was asking, somebody wanted to ask you, it's a perfect transition, why is it that Chris Kattan goes to so many Japanese shops?
Has that been a question?
No, but,
I like the Orient. I like Asian. I like that style.
Is Orient still a term?
I don't know. Is it?
I know you're not supposed to
a
say
place.
Oriental.
I know you can't say that.
But my dad's in the aerial rug business, as I'm sure you could imagine. And there's like a category of rugs called Oriental. There's a company called Oriental Weavers.
Right.
And it's like, what am I supposed to do?
So they have to change the name.
I don't know. They haven't. They changed
But they
Chief
haven't yet?
Wahoo to the Guardians, but they haven't changed Oriental Weavers. And like, so when you're like singing along with a rap song and they say the N-word, of course you leave the N-word out.
Right.
But
obviously.
but am I not allowed to say Oriental Weavers?
Yeah, probably not.
Do you want me to bleep it?
Not for my sake.
Okay. Should we keep Orient?
I would. I never saw it. I said it, so I'm fine.
You did say you like the Orient.
I said the Orient. I meant it as in a place.
Well, same. I guess Orient to Oriental is kind of like Orient is like ending it with an A. I won't get into it.
I guess it is. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I apologize for saying that.
I don't mean this as a blanketed statement, but I think that you're going to be okay. Is Orient a bad word? Because of the historical discrimination against Chinese, Korean, and Japanese in some parts of the United States, some people consider the term derogatory. For example, Washington State prohibits the word Oriental in legislation and governmental documents. Oriental, that's like with the ER, but Orient is just like with the A. So I think it's okay. Orient is casual.
Yeah.
We'll just call this episode.
I do know Oriental is not a word you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I already knew. But
I
do like Asian items, and I like their furniture. I think their crafts and antiques, and they're quite beautiful. You know, their art, their paintings.
Yeah.
You know, their statues. Their
You like Asian
their
statues?
work. Yeah, I mean, I do. I think they're very beautiful. They're Buddhist, the Buddhist temples and the.
When you were saying Asian statues, that makes so much more sense. The Buddhists, like I've seen lots of statues of Buddha, because in my head, when you said Asian statues, the first thing that was coming to mind was like, what athlete, like, is there a Jeremy Lin bronze something outside of the Knicks stadium? You know, like,
Right.
But yeah, Buddha makes sense. Are you into Buddha?
Yeah, my mom and dad were married in 1970. And they had me, and they met at a Cimarron Zen Center. They met at a Zen Center where he studied Buddhism, and then they divorced. My mom met another guy who was also a Buddhist. He actually became a monk. So my mom and my stepdad studied Buddhism.
The stepdad's a monk, or your biological father's a monk?
My mom and stepdad. My mom was a. She's actually a monk now, but my stepdad was ordained a monk as well, but he's no longer with us. He just passed away.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Was he in are they in temples? Were they in like?
No, they have Zen centers. They have like little temples where you would sit and meditate. Basically,
Like going to the gym, but you just go to the. Hey, I'm headed to the Zen temple. I'll be back at 8.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
What do you do at these Zen temples?
You meditate mostly.
So you just go
There's
in.
a teacher there. They're called a Roshi, which means teacher, and they
Master Roshi.
they have a koan, or which is usually a question or some sort of philosophical problem they need to think about. I can get into it. It's too spiritual for me to
Okay.
quite break down. But yeah, I was raised that way a little bit. So
Did that feel religious?
no, it didn't feel. It felt like a way of life. You know, just a choice.
Necklaces, orange suits, and like.
No, that's more Himalayan.
The salt.
That's
Like the salt.
Like what?
Like the salt?
Well, sure, it is like the salt.
So
Yeah, the
those
Himalayan
those
salt.
monks where they shave their head and they're silent and they wear the yellow and they eat the salt and the necklaces.
That's like Hare Krishna. I think that's Krishna.
Do they
I think
overlap?
that's different. I don't know. I think they're different. They both believe in Buddha, but I think they're different types of Zen Buddhism.
Whenever I hear a Buddhist philosophy, I think I've never heard one where I was like, no. You know, everything I hear, it's just
Right.
about like awareness and enlightenment, and like I don't remember many of them, but they do feel like poems or like riddles or something.
Right.
Any that you remember?
No, I don't. Not off like Confucius says kind of thing.
Sure.
Like the back of a fortune cookie.
The back of a fortune cookie. That's an interesting way of saying
Well, not the
it.
back of the fortune cookie. The back of what's in the fortune cookie. The message in the fortune cookie.
And the back of those messages are often lottery numbers.
Yeah.
When do you think that started?
That's true too. I don't know why they did that. They are.
It's a little manipulative.
It is.
Hey, we know your fortune, and to prove it,
Why would they give those lottery numbers? Yeah. I know they did start doing that.
Yeah.
I don't really pay attention to that part.
Well, that's kind of why I brought you
Just
here.
like to find out
Yeah, I
how
mean,
religious I am.
well, to find out about the lottery numbers.
Yeah.
What else, dude? I mean, like sometimes when we podcast like this, it's like I'm aware of the fact of the other person is like doing work.
Right.
And like I'm in my place, like asking you about fortune cookies, salts, and energy.
Yeah.
And like,
That's the power you have. You have the power to ask me these questions.
yeah, but I also like I don't know what I'm like. There are certain things that I wouldn't feel like I don't know how comfortable like we could get into stuff, and like I'm feeling like
Well, we can
sometimes
get
when
as comfortable into anything as you want.
I don't know how much I'm reading like stay away from certain things.
Right. We could talk about anything you want to, really. I just don't like talking about my injury because it's not fun to talk about, that the fusion that they did on my back and, being laid up and doing post-op.
Sure.
And, trying to get your strength back in your fingers and,
So, I've had a few surgeries.
Not very entertaining. Yeah.
I've had a few surgeries and injuries that have kept me from doing some physical stuff that I'm working through.
Yeah.
So like more so just like the mindset of that's why I was like going around to try to figure out like maybe you don't feel physically comfortable giving that kind of energy anymore.
Right.
Like you have all of these people on now, or you're about to be, you just started the podcast that are also physical people.
Right.
And like, don't you miss that?
Do I miss what?
Don't you miss? I miss being more physical, and I'm trying
yeah.
to. So, like, do you feel that like you have to adapt to being less physical because you don't feel comfortable doing it anymore, or is it just I'm not in the mood for it anymore? Because I have both of those.
No, I just don't need to. I mean, that's all right now. I don't feel like I need to do a character that's physical. Although if there was a character I wanted to do physically, I would create that and do it because I'm able to do that. There's nothing like I can't do anymore.
Right. That's what I wanted to ask. And it's the second time you said you feel like you don't need to. So you used to need to.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess I would. I guess did I used to need to? I guess I did used to need to, but I did. I don't know if I said that right.
I think you did. I don't know you, but you said it a couple of times.
I'm confusing. I used to need to. I used to feel the need that I needed to do something physically because people expected me to do physical comedy.
Yeah, this is where I want to get into.
Okay.
This is what I wanted. So you needed to because people expected it of you.
I think people expected me to do physical characters. Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, I don't know if I'm saying that right. When I say physical, I don't just mean physical as in moving. I'm talking energy.
Yeah, physical energy.
Physical and energy, like just loud or voices or silly.
Right.
You said a couple times you don't need to anymore. You don't miss it?
I do miss it, of course. Well, yeah, but I could still do it.
Right, but it seems like you're choosing not to. Like on stage, you don't do it.
Well, no, I'm not at the moment. I mean, I'm not. I can when I'm doing stand up. I'll do it. But
I misunderstood. So on stage, you still have that big.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, it's not like I stopped doing physical comedy.
I have found
It's just not as I'm not in costume.
right.
Doing a sketch.
Yeah, I've had some injuries, and I've just found that my physicality has gotten so much less, and I've just made a conscious effort to try and do it again.
Right.
And it just doesn't feel honest the way it used to.
Right.
And I kind of want to just, I don't know. I'm taking, like I said, taking advantage of trying to like gain some perspective. Just that big, broad, physical doesn't feel honest anymore. So I miss it.
Right. I see.
But I just don't want it.
If it's a feeling that was honest and I miss it too. Yeah, if you can't do it anymore.
But
is it that you don't want to do it or you can do it or you're choosing not to do it?
I found out later in life how much I annoyed people. I didn't know that I was doing it when I was
Oh,
younger.
were you annoying people? Oh, okay.
Very much. And I realized, oh, I'm too much energy. I'm too in your face. I'm too big with stuff.
Right.
So I stopped entirely.
Right.
And I got very depressed.
Self-conscious about it.
Yeah, and also trying to be respectful of other people's space and stepping on them and
Sure.
and taking away from their opportunities to shine.
Right.
And then I got really depressed, and I'm like, I allowed myself the permission to do it again.
Yeah.
And then once I came back doing it again, maybe a combination of getting older, some injuries, insecurities, or self-awareness, whatever it is.
Right.
I never went back to, and there's pros and cons to this, but I never went back to what I'm projecting onto you, which is those SNL days. Like that's a certain thing. Then life moment, getting older, a surgery, the combination of things, just changing your wants, your needs.
Yeah.
And then you come at the other end, it's like, we're not those people anymore. George Carlin adapted many times, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Right.
But he wasn't the weatherman anymore.
Right.
You know, he became this other thing because it was more honest to him.
Right.
And I'm at a place now where I'm happy with who I am and the way I perform and my honesty. And I really miss that other thing.
Makes more sense.
The question is, how do you tap into something that you want to do when you're not feeling it? And to me, I know two tricks. Be opposite somebody that offers it, like I said, some of my friends that bring it out of me, or getting lucky, lightning strikes.
See, that's where I just turn it on. It's the turn it on button. You know, maybe you just don't have it.
I don't think I do.
Because you just, it's like a piano. If you're a pianist and you learned how to play piano.
That
and
I am.
Someone says, you know, are you a pianist?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I could.
Every night in my dreams, I see you, I feel you. That is how I know you. Go on. Oh, wow, Rick, far across the distance.
I could turn it on.
Well, if you see, there you go. Same thing. If you didn't want to play it and you didn't feel like playing it, or you're under the weather or whatever, and someone said, play, you know, Rhapsody in Blue, and you said, you know, you didn't feel like it at all. You didn't feel like you'd be up to par, but it was a dinner invite, and you you want to impress somebody, so you decided to start playing. I mean,
yeah.
you probably.
I just don't have that with energy. That's interesting. I think
You know,
that's a
and
special
it would
thing.
and it would probably sound great.
Thank you.
Oh, wow, Rick.
I think that's a special thing. That
So that's
is
what
rare.
it's probably we've gotten down to. Yeah.
Yeah, you could just do it.
Yeah.
So I guess there's no answer. There's no trick. There's no advice. There's no. I remember I saw Steve Carell talk once about, I don't remember what it was, but when doing voices, the way he's able to do a certain voice or a dialect or an accent was, I think it was Steve Carell. It might have been Colbert. It was one of the two, or maybe they were together. But there are certain phrases that he says a whole bunch of times to kind of get him into it.
Yeah.
And like that to me is a technique, a trick. Oh, if you spike, like, you know, find a phrase that you could do, and then you're there. And I've tried to do it with stand-up, and I don't. And my workaround has been to write material that is high energy Rick, and then medium or low energy Rick, and they're not the same.
Right.
I can't do this. I might be going on stage, and I want to do this set. I can't do it. And I used to
Right.
try, and it just didn't feel honest.
Yeah.
But there's nothing. There's no. You just have it. It's just a.
You just have it, but you have it. I'm sure you do. I think you're not giving yourself enough credit by saying I don't have it or I can't do it.
I don't know. I'm trying
I think
to be
if you
aware.
had a broad array of characters and different choices, you'd probably be able to do it.
That was a long way around of getting to the fact of like some people have it, some people don't.
Well, I think you're capable of having it.
Well, thank you. I think there's something nice outside. They're almost mutually exclusive as a performer and as a person.
Right.
And like when I'm able to, as I've been less on stage, this thing, and on stage, I just mean performing in general, my real life has calmed down in a good way. My anxiety has gotten less. I haven't felt the need to be funny in the same way.
Oh, that's good.
I feel I offer more value than just being silly.
Yeah.
And with that, I've lost the other thing.
Gulp, gulp, gulp.
Do you need more water?
I'd love more water, but I don't want to take that away from you.
My water?
Yeah. I don't want to take any more water away from you. I don't want to take the moment away from you. Your dog's so cute. Oh, thank you. Room temp.
I get into some...
Gulp, 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 gulp.
I think in conclusion, what I got out of that whole thing was, despite you saying maybe you have it, Rick, you're just being hard on yourself. I think there's an acceptance of like, I don't think I do. And
Right.
I think maybe I need to like, maybe just miss that thing.
Yeah.
But man, I know I already said it, but
Well, it's the same thing as in tapping into that, whatever makes you play an instrument, that you just turn it on.
do you play an instrument?
I don't. No. Not particularly. I used to play piano a little bit. But
What makes you feel so confident that it's similar to that?
it's because it's a talent.
Oh, I think I see where I don't. Yeah, it's a talent.
Yeah, it's a talent. That's what it is. So if you're trying to find out a way to categorize it, I would say that it's a talent to turn it on. To turn something on is a talent on its own. But to do a character or play an instrument or sing or dance or whatever, it's it's a talent.
Yeah, I guess
Those are talents that you
playing a piano.
yeah.
Doesn't feel. I mean, doing anything, performing in front of people there's a vulnerability to it. But relatively speaking, I'm not showing you my soul when I play the piano. I'm not. If you don't like it, do you not like the song? Do you not like my phrasing? Do you not like the genre?
Right.
Like, there's something more objective about playing the notes at the right thing. Where performing, it's so much. There's something about
Right,
it.
there is performing to playing piano. There's not just playing piano. There's like playing it the way you would play it.
Yes, both of those things exist.
Right.
But if I don't put my soul into it, the average listener might not know. They just recognize, oh, I know that song. I like that song.
Right. Some people wouldn't be able to tell the difference, probably.
As a performer.
Whether you're really putting your heart and soul into it or not.
Okay, yeah, that's where I disagree.
And that's where the talent comes in.
You think that when you're up there and you're like totally in it versus when you're not totally in it, the audience doesn't know the difference?
Some people. That's generalizing. I mean, there's some people that could be fans, and they would definitely know the difference. Some people that follow you or listen to your other work. I think they would be able to find out that it does sound different than others, or he's not really into this as he was in other performances.
Yeah, I think that's where maybe I get in my head where I don't feel honest. Like, if I don't feel like I'm into it, I assume that everyone knows that.
Right.
And that's maybe also, that's something interesting about the turning it on. You're able to make yourself believe, real or not, that the audience has no idea. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Just, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't have a piano here, do you?
Right there.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. Oh, yeah, right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I think there's something to the fact that you believe, I don't mean that in a condescending way. I mean that in a, you might be right. You might not be. I don't know. But you believe that if you do the thing, if you play the piano, if you do the performance, then the audience is going to be happy. Or more specifically, the audience is going to believe you and trust you.
Yeah, believe you. That's the key word to that.
Yeah.
They're going to believe you. They're convinced that you know what you're doing, and even though you're not putting 100% into it,
Yeah.
they believe that you are.
That's where I have a hard time. If I don't believe I am, I'm in my head like, I'm not being honest. They don't believe me.
So therefore, you're not going to play.
That's easier. Stand-up wise. Going up on stage.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Going up on stage, if I'm like putting on the energy,
Right.
I might as well not be doing it.
Right.
But I do think there's like you said, if you had to find what the skill is doing it anyway.
Right.
Do you love stand-up the way you love sketch?
They're two totally different things. I mean, I love the crowd work, and I love working with other people. You know, so it's different. Sketch and stand up are two. They're so different. You know, you're alone. You're mostly alone on stage, and you know, you get to. You have a lot of control, but I prefer being on stage with someone.
Me too.
I think it's a lot more fun.
It's probably why you do the crowd work so much.
Yeah, that's why I tend to crowd work a lot, you know.
I started with improv, and I stopped doing it because I needed to give it my all to one of them.
Yeah.
And it was just too hard to do shows all the time.
Right.
When you were counting on other people and teams. And
Right.
man, there's nothing better to me than sketch and improv. It's the fucking best, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you ever have bring somebody on stage, like a comedian friend?
No, you know, actually I haven't.
Have you thought about it? I started doing it
I haven't
recently.
had the opportunity. I haven't had been on stage and asked someone to come up and join me.
When I do shows, either my own shows, at least in
Do you
town.
do stand up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been doing stand up. That's my main.
That's your main thing. Okay.
That's my main thing.
I'm
I
sorry.
act when I can. That's fine. We don't know each other.
Yeah.
But that's why I've been. That's what I've been talking about the whole time.
But,
Yeah. The stand up.
I didn't know that was your main. Okay.
Yeah. And that's where I'm getting at with this stuff, because like I've come into so much self-awareness coincidentally over the last X years.
Yeah.
But also on stage has shown me so much of how to implement that and what that means and what my needs are and what makes me feel insecure.
Right.
And I have found such a correlation that has always been, that I never noticed, that I've always been performing in life.
Right.
I just didn't know I was. And as I've stopped being that in my real life, that's happened on stage.
Right.
So like I'm more honest in both now.
Yeah.
But I miss that's why I want to be on stage with people. So I do like Rick Glassman and Friends shows now. Like that's just the best.
Yeah, that is the best.
Yeah.
Doing it with somebody else.
I almost feel like stand-up is like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it because there's more opportunity.
Yeah. It's fun. And it depends on the crowd, too. You know, that's for sure. If they're more playful or drunk or whatever, depending on their mood, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever...
Because-
other comics say that. I've never noticed the difference.
Oh, you don't know the difference? I just do in behavior-wise, and that's what makes it more fun sometimes. More fun to do crowd work.
Yeah, I guess I don't do that much crowd work.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay.
I improvise a lot, but not with the crowd that much.
Okay. Is that how you write?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
improvising?
It's also the most fun. It's not the best show for the audience to not have the material, in my
Right.
opinion, but it is where I come up with stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have shows coming up that you want to plug?
Well, I'm going to be in Florida, St. Augustine. I'm going to be in San Diego, I believe. Yeah, I'm going to be there. But you could always, Chris Kattan Official is my Instagram. That's my
Link
handle.
is in the description as well.
Oh, is it?
I'm letting people know that if they don't know how to spell everything, just go to the description and click it.
Oh, is that what you did? Okay. I see.
Yeah. Has your dates, and then your pod, and then your social. Anything else?
Yeah, Idiotically Speaking. No, not right now. Not at the moment. I have a film coming out called Angel City, and there's some other things coming up. Yeah, just working on a script, and I'm working on a one-man show, and that's what I'm doing.
Is your one-man show different than stand-up?
Yeah, it is. Because in stand-up, I talk a lot about SNL, and a lot of people want to hear about SNL.
Yeah, I was like not asking too much about it because I could imagine.
Well, you can ask. I mean,
But your one-man show is not going to be covering it?
well, I'll talk about SNL for sure. I just didn't want to. My stand up is a lot more about SNL than what I would prefer to do, because the crowd wants to hear so much about SNL, and they want to hear stories about it.
Yeah.
You know,
One man show is still
fine.
comedy.
is what?
The one man show still funny.
Yeah.
Something about one man show that makes more sense. Like if I were to think of my stand up as a one man show, I would feel like, oh, I'm good at this.
Right.
And when I think of it as stand up, it's like I don't prioritize the funny. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Right.
But it is for stand up, right?
Right.
But for one man show, I feel like when you go see a musician and then they talk about what inspired them in between songs,
Right.
And then it's kind of funny, but they destroy because they weren't meant to be funny.
Right.
I feel like that one man show is like, oh, this is funny. You know, how amazing. All right, man. Well, I don't want to apologize for harping so much on certain things, but I do want
You
to.
didn't harp at all.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to acknowledge because, like you said a couple of times, like I don't. That's not specific enough. I wasn't like asking you. And
No, I was just like, are you trying to be specific towards this certain? There were just certain. I was trying to lead you down the path.
yeah,
Help leads you down the path, because you seemed, when you're asking me some questions, you seemed puzzled.
yeah. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm not puzzled by the question, but of where what I could find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just meeting you now and seeing you from like the performances.
Right.
Like, oh, good. Here's a guy that has big energy that
Right.
also doesn't have to be. I want to like understand that journey because
Yeah.
I'm on it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you going to stop talking about SNL sometime on stand up, or is that why you're doing the one man show?
No, I don't know. I mean, I may. I'll probably always talk about it in some way or another. It should be included. I mean, it was a huge part of my life and my career and what people remember me by.
Yeah.
So, and I had a great time on the show.
I know everyone thinks their golden age was when they watched it growing up, but that happens to be it for me. When you were there, and do you watch it still?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, are you a fan of it?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I've recently started watching it again, and it's really funny.
Yeah, it is.
Well, thanks for coming over, man.
Yeah, of course.
No obligations because this, you don't know me, and this didn't get very silly at all. But if you're ever in town again,
Do you want it to get silly? Do we miss that moment?
No, I didn't have any once, really. But now that I'm thinking, now that we had this conversation, there was like, oh, you're somebody I would love to get silly with. I'm not upset we
could
didn't.
have got silly.
But my suggestion or my invitation to you is, because I do get silly a lot on this. Just not today happened to not been the day.
Right.
If you ever wanted to come back on, either just you or you and I sometimes have multiple friends on. I don't know if you smoke weed, but
I don't.
I don't smoke it, but I eat edibles, and I love doing edibles on the podcast, even if the other person doesn't, and just getting silly as shit.
You take really for the show?
Oh, love.
Oh, I wouldn't do that.
Love.
I would just feel so guilty.
Guilty? Why?
Because it'd be like I can't do this while I'm interviewing somebody.
Oh well, yeah. Well, if you can't do it, then you don't.
Right,
for me,
right.
For me, if I'm setting, like, I'll never do it and not ask or tell.
Right,
But like,
right.
I'll be like, could we get fucking silly? And then if you're like, yeah, like I like to take an edible, and then it kicks in like halfway through, so like kind of transitions in. Play music, we do songs and raps and whatever. But basically, my suggestion is, my invite is, if you're in town and you want to have a silly time, I'd love to invite you back.
Okay.
Whenever you want. But thank you for doing this. You're about to leaving LA, and you came here straight before. So thanks for making the time of doing this.
Yeah, of course.
And really nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, it's really nice to meet you.
All the dates, as I said, they're in the description. And I'm going to take a Polaroid, and we're good to go.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Of course.
Theme music.
Scoot
Here's
doo.
Okay.
Blabbity blue.